One of his rare and powerful dated predictions says the world is going to end almost 1,800 years from now, when the sun in a final conflagration devours the Earth. But Mars will continue its orbits in the year 3797.
Could the mysterious writings of a man from the 1500s really show us what will happen in the future? In the pages of history, Michel de Nostredame stands out as a puzzling figure who wrote predictions that people still discuss and even more people confirm. Many have affirmed that his predictions already came true, such as the Great Fire in London in 1666. In his poem, he mentioned a great fire and blood of the just happening in London in the year 66. His confusing verses, resembling riddles, are said to foretell significant world events, such as major shifts in countries and catastrophic disasters. Most of these prophecies seem to be happening right now. Join us as we reveal Nostradamus' 2024 apocalyptic predictions. Michel de Nostredame, who is more commonly known as Nostradamus, was born on a cold day, December 14th, 1503, in a quaint little town called Saint-Rémy-de-Provence, located in the beautiful country of France. Nostradamus was a man from France who came into the world over half a millennium ago in a small, picturesque town in the southern part of the country. He was not an only child, but one among 9 siblings, born into a family that greatly valued education. His family was originally Jewish, but converted to Catholicism, which was a big change in their lives. This change was made during a time when people were not tolerant of different religions. So this tells us that Nostradamus was raised in an environment where learning was important, but his family had to adapt their religious beliefs due to the societal pressures they faced during those times. In the early years of his life, Nostradamus chose to pursue a career in medicine. He went on to become a physician, a doctor who dedicated his life to treating people suffering from the plague. The plague was a terrible disease that took many lives in Europe during Nostradamus' time. He worked hard in this profession, traveling across parts of France and Italy, offering his medical knowledge and help to those afflicted by this deadly illness. Nostradamus was a doctor whose main focus was helping people who were struck by this frightening and life-threatening disease. As time went on, around the year 1550, Nostradamus began to shift his interests from medicine to the mystical world of astrology and the art of prophecy. This shift means that when he reached the middle part of his life, he became fascinated with the stars and the idea of predicting what the future holds. He started writing almanacs, which were like annual guidebooks. These almanacs included predictions about the weather, forecasts of future events, and even horoscopes, giving people insights into what the coming year might bring. His almanacs were helpful to people who wanted to know what the future might look like, including changes in weather and other important happenings. As Nostradamus' reputation grew, he began his most significant project, Les Prophéties. This work was a substantial collection of 942 poetic verses, known as quatrains. Les Prophéties was essentially a large book filled with poems. These poems were not ordinary, they were meant to predict future events and happenings. Nostradamus' predictions in these poems were diverse, covering everything from terrifying natural disasters like earthquakes and floods to significant historical events such as wars and the rise and fall of powerful empires. In other words, he wrote about enormous, frightening occurrences and significant shifts in countries and governments. His style of writing was quite complex and enigmatic, often blending languages like French, Greek, Latin, and even using anagrams. This means that his poems were challenging to decipher because they were like riddles, written in a mix of different languages. Over the years, many people have interpreted Nostradamus' writings in various ways. Some claim that his quatrains have accurately foretold major historical events like the French Revolution, the rise of leaders like Napoleon and Hitler, and even the tragic 9/11 terrorist attacks. This suggests that some people believe he was able to correctly predict significant historical occurrences, despite the complexity and confusion in his writing. On the other hand, there are skeptics who argue that because Nostradamus's quatrains are so vague and open-ended, they can be interpreted in countless ways after events have already occurred. This perspective suggests that some people believe Nostradamus's predictions are so general and unclear that they could be linked to almost any event, and connections are often made only after these events take place. Despite this skepticism, the fascination with Nostradamus's work persists. Even though not everyone is convinced about the accuracy of his predictions, there is still a widespread interest in his writings. His supposed insights into the future continue to captivate people, particularly during times of uncertainty and crisis. When the world faces frightening or confusing events, some turn to Nostradamus's work to see if he might have foreseen these occurrences. Revealing Nostradamus's riddle, a prediction of global change emerges. One of the most talked about predictions is the so-called New World Order. This prediction, similar to Nostradamus's other enigmatic forecasts, is believed by many to potentially materialize in 2024. This prophecy has left many experts and visionaries puzzled and intrigued as it foresees the establishment of a significant alliance that could dramatically alter the global landscape. Nostradamus hinted at an unprecedented alliance between two powerful entities, suggesting a collaboration that defies conventional boundaries. This alliance could be between strong and weak nations, or even between leaders of differing genders. The vague nature of the prophecy has sparked widespread speculation among world leaders, diplomats, and the general public. Adding to the intrigue is Nostradamus's suggestion that the benefits of this alliance may be short-lived. He implies that the initial peace and unity achieved by these powers could unravel due to unforeseen challenges or hidden agendas. Will this alliance bring only a temporary respite before leading to greater turmoil? What global issues will these leaders unite to address? Can their partnership endure, or will it be merely a fleeting chapter in history? The world watches and wonders about the outcome of Nostradamus's cryptic prediction, leaving us in a state of anticipation and fascination. The true significance of this unprecedented alliance and the fulfillment of these prophetic words remains to be seen as time unfolds. Shifting our focus, a new cosmic warning emerges, tying fate to the stars. This is a horrible prediction about the King of Terror coming from the sky. This king brings bad stuff with him, like a terrible sickness and food shortage. These will cause a lot of people to die. Even though he might not stay for long, the problems he causes will last for a really long time. Understanding what Nostradamus meant is always tricky and pretty interesting. This particular prediction is no different. It makes you think about some really scary but fascinating things that could happen. Some daring people even think this might be the start of a huge natural disaster, one so big it could change life as we know it. There are quiet talks among some people who think Elon Musk and his big SpaceX projects might have something to do with this. They wonder if Musk's strong desire to be the best in space could accidentally start some huge problems in space. Is it possible we're close to a big change that will affect everyone? Back in 1999, people all over the world were really nervous about this King of Terror coming. Also, everyone was scared of the Y2K bug, but it didn't end up being as bad as people thought. So it makes you wonder, is this just another prophecy that didn't come true? A scary ruler that never shows up? Looking into the mysterious words of Mavis makes everything even more suspenseful. Nostradamus's hint about something really bad happening after Mavis dies adds more mystery. Who is Mavis, and what kind of bad things could happen after she's gone? This prediction is full of strong images and a sense of danger. It really grabs your attention and makes you feel both scared and curious. Are these just stories, or could they be warnings about what might happen? The idea of a huge disaster changing everything about life, along with people guessing that technology and space travel might be to blame, makes you think of a future that's uncertain and full of problems. As we think about these predictions, we start talking about bigger ideas, like what people try to achieve, the things we don't know about, and how we need to balance moving forward with keeping things safe. Nostradamus's words echo as the world faces environmental disaster. A long time ago, Nostradamus talked about big disasters like huge fires and storms. These are happening because the weather on Earth is changing in bad ways. People living and doing things in certain ways are a big reason for these changes. Now, we're seeing more disasters, and it looks like what Nostradamus said is happening. The big fires in Canada are a good example. They cause a lot of damage and show how strong nature is and what happens when it's upset. Many people didn't think climate change was a real problem for years. They believed it was something that would happen in the future or wasn't as serious as some said. But now, we can't ignore it. The terrible wildfires are proof. These events are making us see that the danger is real and urgent. It's like we were confused or in denial before, but now we see the real challenges. We can't ignore it anymore. The dangers are clear, and we must act and change to keep our planet safe. What Nostradamus warned about a long time ago is now a message for us to take care of the Earth.
The more pollutants in the air, the worse quality air people are up against.
In New York City, there's a horrible orange fog of pollution. Smoke and smog are everywhere, and climate pollution is getting worse. We can't just say climate change is real. We must feel it in every wind, every hot day, and every change in weather. We need to do something and promise to protect the future for our kids. It's really important that we stop the damage, change our bad habits, and make sure our planet is safe. Farewell to the Colorful Arches isn't just a name. It's a warning and a cry for change from the Earth. We might face a dry and thirsty land, but we must be strong and change our ways. This story isn't just about losing the beauty of rainbows. It's a chance to think about how we affect the environment and to learn from nature. It's telling us to pay attention to small signs from the Earth before it's too late. We should understand this warning and act quickly to prevent more problems. Let's stay committed to making a difference. The story of Farewell to the Colorful Arches gives us hope and reminds us that we can improve things. Next, an unexpected danger could hit us anytime. Nostradamus also said that something terrible would happen because people wanted revenge. This story started getting attention on January 5th, 2010, when NASA saw a comet moving fast in space. People started to think that this comet, called the Cosmic 66, was related to what Nostradamus and other old prophets had said. They thought the comet coming close to Earth was a sign of bad things about to happen, but the comet itself wasn't the only worry. Then, there was another prediction about someone named Mavis. This person was a mystery, and the prediction said they would die, leading to terrible things, including World War III. Everyone watched the news closely, waiting for information about this mysterious Mavis. The more time passed, the more people talked and guessed about who Mavis might be. Some said Mavis knew a painter from long ago named Jan Miller Bruce. This made people think Mavis could travel through time and was always connected to comets. Because of this, many people, including scholars and experts, started guessing who Mavis could be. They thought Mavis could be anyone from Hassan, an old historical figure, to Barack Obama, a recent leader, or even Rye Mouse, a former US Navy leader. Mouse's name kept coming up in these guesses, making the whole story even more interesting to people everywhere. The worry was that bad things like chaos and war might start once the comet left. When Cosmic 66 was coming close to Earth, people were scared, curious, and really wanted to understand what was going to happen. They tried to connect what was happening now to the old predictions. This shows how much people are interested in trying to figure out unknown things, especially when these things might mean big changes or problems for the whole world. The guesses about who Mavis is also show how predictions can make people think of all kinds of ideas. They connect things from different times, places, and people. Because of this, the prediction becomes something that makes people talk more about fate, how things in space affect Earth, and how people always try to find patterns and meanings in the stars and the universe. Next, we confront the realities of hunger and survival, grounded in the prophecies' earthly challenges. Nowadays, our kitchens are packed with a variety of foods and cool gadgets that make life pretty easy and enjoyable. We're used to having everything we need just a few steps away, which is really nice. But there's a growing worry about not having enough food in the future, and this worry is starting to shake up the comfortable life we're all used to. The cost of buying food at the store is going up, and it's making a lot of people nervous. This concern has even led to talks about Nostradamus, a famous guy from the past known for making mysterious predictions, possibly having hinted at these difficult times we're facing. In our comfortable modern life, we often take for granted the convenience of our well-stocked kitchens. They're filled with various foods from all around the world, alongside gadgets that help us prepare meals quickly and without much fuss. Many of us have become quite attached to this level of comfort and convenience. Even with so much food available, there's a worry about not having enough in the future. This fear makes us feel less secure about getting the food we need and the different kinds we like. The rising cost of groceries is a big part of this concern. As prices continue to climb, many people are starting to feel the pinch. It's not just about paying more at the checkout anymore. It's about worrying whether this trend will continue and how it will affect our ability to afford the foods we've always taken for granted. These discussions aren't new, but they've taken on a new urgency as more and more people feel the impact of these changes.
He's hungry. Today, he's not eaten any food.
It's interesting to note that Nostradamus, a seer from centuries ago, known for his often vague and mysterious predictions, is now being brought into the conversation. Some speculate that he might have seen these days of uncertainty coming. The fact that we're even mentioning Nostradamus in relation to our current food concerns highlights how seriously some are taking the potential for future shortages and economic challenges. Nostradamus's prophecies have always been a topic of fascination, often interpreted in various ways to fit different events throughout history. Now, as we face these rising food prices and the threat they pose to our daily comfort, some wonder if his words might have anticipated the kind of societal anxiety we're experiencing today. This connection between Nostradamus's ancient predictions and our contemporary worries about food security and economic instability brings a historical perspective to our current challenges. It reminds us that concerns about the future, especially regarding essentials like food, have always been a part of human history. The difference now is that we have the benefit of modern conveniences and technology, yet we're still facing fundamental issues that people have worried about for centuries. This situation encourages a deeper reflection on our reliance on these comforts and the importance of being prepared for potential changes in our access to food. As we navigate these uncertain times, the dialogue around Nostradamus's prophecies and our current food concerns serves as a reminder of the cyclical nature of history and the enduring human spirit to adapt and overcome. Once, there was a man who thought about a time when honey might be a rare treat and wheat so hard to find that people could do things we can't even imagine now, just because they were so hungry and scared. When he said this, it was like he was talking about the troubles we have today in getting enough food for everyone. But when we try to understand what this man Nostradamus was saying, we have to be careful. His words are like riddles, full of pictures and secrets. They make us think hard about what he really meant. Maybe he wasn't just talking about not having enough food. Maybe he was also trying to tell us something important about how people act when times are tough. He might have been saying that in the future, being kind and understanding each other could become just as hard as finding food. Thinking about this makes us look at the world we're making. As everything gets more expensive, we might start to only look out for ourselves, forgetting about everyone else. Nostradamus's scary ideas could be a way to wake us up and make us think about where we're going. We don't have to end up in a bad place where everyone is against each other and there's not enough for everyone. We can choose to be nice, share, and work together. We can change our fear of a bad future into a promise to help each other. By doing this, we're not just proving Nostradamus wrong, but we're also showing that people are really strong and good inside. The future isn't set in stone. What we do now decides what will happen later. We should want to make a future that's full of hope, where we learn from the past and make a world that's kinder and where everyone feels like they belong. In dealing with not having enough food and money problems, if we all work together, we can make a future that's good for everyone. This way, Nostradamus's dark words will just be a small part of our story as we move toward a better and happier time. Leaving earthly concerns, our journey takes us to the darkest entity in the world. According to Nostradamus, the Antichrist is hiding among us right now. This idea makes a lot of people, whether they believe in these predictions or not, feel really nervous and worried. It's like a big mystery from old times. Some people, even in big newspapers like the New York Post, say that this scary prediction might start to come true in 2023, which is surprising and makes people even more worried. Nostradamus wrote things that are hard to understand, but he seems to say that this evil person will start a huge war against everyone who doesn't agree with him. This war will last for 327 years and will be really terrible, with lots of fighting and blood. Even the water and snow will look red from all the blood. Now, as we get closer to this time, everyone around the world is waiting and feeling scared about these dark predictions. We don't know who this Antichrist is, and everyone is guessing and talking about it. Some people think he might be a really strong and mean leader who starts fights between countries. Even though a lot of people don't really believe these stories, they can't help but feel more and more curious as 2024 goes on. We're all wondering if these predictions will actually happen. We're all feeling really unsure and curious, but also kind of scared. We're asking ourselves, is this Antichrist thing really going to be the end of the world, or does it just mean a time when everything is really mixed up and crazy? There's so much we don't know about what's going to happen next. The Antichrist might be just one person who's very bad, or it could be like a big, dark force. The next few months are going to be really different and interesting. These old stories and what's really happening are coming together in a big way, and it feels like we're at a special point in time. It's kind of scary, but also really exciting to see how stories and real life are blending together. This time in history is going to be something to remember, where being scared and amazed happen at the same time. Now, we return to confront our warming oceans, a prophecy calling us to action. The predictions of Nostradamus in the 1500s seemed like pure fantasy, but now we're starting to see that they might actually come true, and it's making a lot of people worried about what's going to happen to the oceans. Nostradamus was famous for making predictions that were hard to understand and a bit scary. He used to talk in metaphors, so people interpreted his words in different ways. But now, with all our environmental problems, his words seem to have a new meaning. He talked about the oceans getting so warm, it's like the sun scorched the earth. He even said the waters in the Black Sea could get so hot that the fish might start cooking right in the water. This is an exaggerated way to describe how serious ocean warming is. And now, scientists are finding evidence that shows he might have been onto something. Nostradamus imagined a really dark future for sea creatures, thinking the oceans would turn into super hot pots. People used to think his language was just symbolic, but now it's kind of spooky how it matches up with what scientists are seeing. But these old predictions aren't just old stories anymore. Today, scientists are using really advanced tools and analyzing a lot of data, and they're finding out that the ocean situation is pretty scary and a lot like what Nostradamus warned about. They're using things like satellites and temperature readings, and they're studying the environment to sound the alarm. We're getting really close to a big problem in the ocean. Big research studies in famous journals are showing that lots of fish that people eat and depend on for their jobs are in danger of disappearing because the ocean is getting warmer from climate change. This isn't just something people are guessing might happen. It's a real problem that big groups like the IPCC and marine biologists are reporting.
It really is like this, and we can see wonderful things all over the bottom of this sea, potentially.
These modern scientists are backing up Nostradamus's old prophecies in a way. They're finding out that his dramatic image of a burning sea isn't so far-fetched. The Black Sea, for example, is getting warmer, and it's affecting the fish living there. This isn't just a small change, it's a big shift, threatening the marine ecosystem. As the sea temperatures rise, the natural balance is getting disturbed, and it's not just one or two species at risk, It's a whole lot of them. This heating of the oceans is a part of the larger climate change issue, which is caused by things like pollution and greenhouse gases. What Nostradamus said in a metaphorical way is turning out to be true in a literal sense. The oceans are heating up, and it's like they're slowly turning into these giant hot pots that are too warm for the fish and other sea creatures to survive. The situation is becoming urgent, and it's not just a concern for scientists and environmentalists. It affects fishermen, people who eat seafood, and anyone who cares about the planet. The predictions of Nostradamus, once seen as mysterious and hard to decode, are now serving as a kind of warning. They remind us that what we once thought was impossible or exaggerated could actually happen. As extreme as it sounds, the idea of fish cooking alive in the sea is a powerful image that captures the seriousness of ocean warming. And now, thanks to modern science, we see that this isn't just a scary story, it's a real possibility. The research shows how the changing climate impacts our oceans in ways we can't ignore. It's like the pieces of a puzzle are coming together, and the picture they're forming is one that Nostradamus had already hinted at centuries ago. The importance of the oceans goes way beyond just being big areas of water. They are super important for our planet, giving us food, jobs, and keeping everything in balance, which is important for many different animals and plants. The oceans cover about 71% of the Earth and have 50 to 80% of all life on Earth, says the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. If we lose important animals in the ocean, it's not just bad because we lose a lot of different kinds of life. It's also really bad for people. According to the United Nations, almost 3 billion people need the oceans and the coast for their jobs. If we lose these animals, it could mess up food chains and economies all over the world. Scientists are really trying to figure out which animals can survive these changes and which can't. It's really scary not knowing what's going to happen, especially because everything in the ocean is so connected. One of the biggest worries is that the ocean system could collapse. This could really change the natural world as we know it and harm the different kinds of life and balance in the ocean. It's getting more and more likely that we could have oceans without any life, where everything is empty and dead, as more research shows how bad ocean warming is. Coral bleaching, which happens when the sea gets too warm, has already hurt places like the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. Corals are super important because they have lots of different kinds of life, just like rainforests. If we lose them, many other animals could also be in trouble. This is bad not just for the environment, but also for the millions of people who need these ecosystems for food, tourism, and to protect the coast. The more we learn about what our actions do to the ocean, the clearer it becomes that we could end up with a really hot, empty ocean. The old predictions of Nostradamus and what scientists are finding now are big warnings that we need to do something about climate change and its effects on the ocean. We need to cut down on carbon emissions, protect places in the ocean, and fish in ways that don't hurt the environment. We need to do this now to stop the ocean from becoming lifeless. This isn't just about keeping nature safe for its own sake. It's about making sure our planet and all the different kinds of life, including people, have healthy oceans to depend on. The fact that old predictions and new science are saying the same thing should push governments, organizations, and everyone to act. Do you believe any of Nostradamus's 2024 predictions are happening right now? Share your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.